Hello, scholars, and welcome to our presentation on Freshman Forum, where we will be talking about how to write a letter to the president. You have, as part of your assignments for this course, to write a letter to the president of the college. But what we're going to do first is tell you the steps that it takes to write a letter to the president of our college. So I'll restate that because I don't know if that YouTube just started up, okay? Geraldine Agee, the provost here at Miles College, and I'm going to talk to you about how to write a letter to the president of the college. And really, this is a process that can help you no matter what you're doing in whatever career. So let's see if we can go ahead and go through it. I have a PowerPoint that I want to share to you, with you. And let me start it from here. This is going to be your second assignment. And we call it how to write a letter to the president. So you're going to be writing a letter to the president, but what we want you to understand is that here at our college, we have a president who is very student focused, and she's just as excited as talking to you as you are about communicating with her. There are times when a student should write a letter to the president of the college. So we want to make sure that if that's the case for you, you know how to do it. We are lucky to have a president that actually really enjoys getting to talk to our students. She walks around on the campus, she eats lunch in the cafeteria, and regularly engages with students on social media like Twitter and Facebook. Whenever a student brings a concern to the president's attention, I can tell you personally from my own experience, she requires members of her staff to respond on her behalf, to respond expeditiously, with respect, and look at how we can resolve the students' concerns. That's the president that we have. However, there is protocol that we all need to follow to make sure that our complaint, our concern, or our great idea gets to the right person. And sometimes that is the president of our college. Her name is President Bobby Knight. So step one in writing a letter to the president, I'm going to be honest with you. Here's the tip here. The first step in writing a letter to the president is actually, you don't. The first step in writing a letter to the president is to figure out what it is that you want. Figure out what it is that you're asking for. Are you looking for your grade to be reevaluated? Are you looking for your teacher to call you back? Are you looking for new internship opportunities? And ask yourself, when you get ready to write this letter, have I followed the chain of command? Now let's talk about what a chain of command is. A chain of command is where you follow a line of communication from one person to the next person, where you move up progressively towards the president. So your first line in the chain of command is not the president. That's my boss. I'll report directly to her. But there's a chain of command for students, not just so that you can't talk to the president, but because there are many people on the way to getting to the president that probably can resolve your concern. And most importantly, it's their job and their honor to do so. But let me show you what chain of command is, because you're going to need to know this, not just for your time here at Miles, but for your time on your internships, your time on your jobs, and the rest of your career. We all have to follow the chain of command. Everyone has somebody that they report to. Our president has a board. So let's discuss what a chain of command looks like. I'm going to show a video. Let's see if this works. One second.
In a military context, the chain of command is a line of authority and responsibility along which orders are passed within a military unit and between different units. Orders are transmitted down the chain of command, from a higher-ranked soldier, such as a commissioned officer, to lower-ranked personnel who either execute the order personally or transmit it down the chain as appropriate, until it is received by those expected to execute it. In general, military personnel give orders only to those directly below them in the chain of command and receive orders only from those directly above them. A service member who has difficulty executing a duty or order and appeals for relief directly to an officer above his immediate commander in the chain of command is likely to be disciplined for not observing the chain of command. Similarly, an officer is usually expected to give orders only to his or her direct subordinate, even if it is just to pass an order down to another service member lower in the chain of command than said subordinate. The concept of chain of command also implies that higher rank alone does not entitle a higher ranking service member to give commands to anyone of lower rank. For example, an officer of Unit A does not directly command lower ranking members of Unit B, and is generally expected to approach an officer of Unit B if he requires action by members of that unit. The chain of command means that individual members take orders from only one superior and only give orders to a defined group of people immediately below them. If an officer of Unit A does give orders directly to a lower ranked member of Unit B, it would be considered highly unusual, a faux pas, or extraordinary.
So that example of a chain of command, she talked about a military chain of command. In a military chain of command, let's say there's a soldier, an officer higher ranked than them, and an officer higher ranked than them. The officer at the highest rank gives the reports and gives the instructions to the officer below them. That officer below them gives them instructions to the sergeant below them, who gives instructions to the soldier or the rank and file. And so why a chain of command is important for you as a student and as us making sure that we're taking good care of you is that it's also important for you to follow a chain of command so nothing gets lost in the cracks. You might talk to the president walking down campus and you might tell her something important that she really cares about, but she's still going to send that back to your division chair or your faculty member, or well, actually, she's just going to send it to me because she's my boss, so she sends it to me. But I go back and I do some digging and try to find that information. So what we would love for you to see, so we can make sure that we're meeting your concerns, is to show you how to follow the chain of command. And so I will do that by going back to this PowerPoint. So here on our campus, step 2 in writing a letter to the president is you still don't write the letter to the president because you're going to start with the first defense in your chain of command, and that's your professor. So your professor is the person that you take your concern or your idea or your complaint or your issue to. And if you're like me, when I was growing up and I was going to college, sometimes the issue is with your professor. So why would you go to the person that you already are having an issue with or already doesn't understand what's going on? That's how we might feel with our professors. Well, even if you break the chain of command and go directly above the professor or all the way to the president still has to follow that chain of command, find out what happened. So ultimately, it's still going to be a situation where the professor has to be involved. So involve them from the start. That also helps you because now you've done what you're supposed to do. When they ask you, have I reached out to my professor? You can say, yes, I have. Step 3 in writing a letter to the president is we're still not there yet. You work with your division chair after you send a letter to your professor. If you don't get resolution there, the professor didn't really quite understand what you were saying, or which can happen, sometimes a professor doesn't get back with you in a timely manner. Say you're looking for a letter of rec and you need it by a certain day and time, or say you need the professor to respond to something that has to do with your grade and you need that looked at within a certain time frame. You're not getting the support that you need. You can go to your division chair, or I'm going to give you several other options that can be helpful to you, including the CAT Center. So here at the college, we have 5 divisions. We also have general education, and we have the STAR Center. In the 5 divisions, they each have division chairs. We have the Division of Business and Accounting, the Division of Education, Division of Humanities and Communications, natural sciences and mathematics, and social and behavioral sciences. And we all also have the STAR Center. It used to be known as a CAT Center, and their advisors. Why am I telling you this? Because your line of defense, or your line of communication, I shouldn't have said defense, your line of communication going from your professor next goes to the division chair, which would be that professor's boss. So in that case, if it's business and accounting, you would take the exact same email that you sent to your professor, and then maybe your professor gave you some feedback back and forth. You would elevate that in a respectful manner. I'm going to talk about that to Dr. Mohit Anand if you're in a business and accounting class. You're going to elevate it to Dr. Anthony Green if you're in an education class, Dr. Bala Baptiste for humanities and communications courses. For science, it's Dr. Charles Woods, and for social and behavioral sciences, is Dr. Tharp. Now, I'll give you a little hint. If you've been participating in Freshman Forum this whole semester, you will have met, by the time the semester is over, every division chair on this campus. And more than that, you'll know what they look like, you'll know what they talk like, and you'll kind of get an idea of who they are. So you'll know that it's not such a scary proposition to go to the division chair, especially under the leadership of this president. We are just as dedicated to resolving your issues as you are. So we consider ourselves partners in problem solving. The other line of communication or support that you have, there are a lot of resources before you get to the president. If you're in a general education class, that's mostly your first 2 years of education, you can reach out to our Dean of General Education, who's Dr. Yvette Richardson, and she spoke on the second or third week. You can reach out if you're honors, you're a smart cookie if you reach out to Dr. Chekwa and say, here's my concern and here's where I need help. I could do a workshop about what's in your concern, what's in your influence, and what's in your control. What's in your concern is things in the world that are happening. You might be concerned about how a talks in a class. You might be concerned about how grades are figured and configured in your class. Well, you don't have any control over that. But what you have control over is who you talk to advocate on your behalf or to support you. And those people, you have control over reaching out to them, and those people have influence to support you on what you're concerned about. So Dr. Chekwa, if you're in the honors curriculum, you're a smart cookie if you're letting Dr. Chekwa know what your problems are, because he can really help you out. You already know that it's true if you're in Jumpstart, because you know that you've probably already reached out to Tanier Gums, you've already reached out to Dr. Hayes, and they help you with your problems on a regular basis. Use them again now. They'll be happy to help you redraft letters. They'll be happy to help you make sure you get the information to the people you need to get it to. And sometimes the people that are listed here and on the slide before don't even necessarily have to go through a bunch of red tape. They can make a decision about what it is that you need, or they can make a phone call and get things done. If you're an online program, you've got two amazing resources. One's name is Mikkel Jones. She's on this class often, and the other is Dr. Vida Adatova, who is our Dean of Online Education. I have never seen a student have a problem that was part of online education that didn't get resolved within the same day. That's how dedicated they are to supporting you, and that's the kind of service that you get when you work with the online dean. And then finally, we have LaShonda Alexander, who is our director over in the STAR Center. It used to be called the CAT Center. So if you're not in any of these majors, you can always go to your advisors. And those advisors got my cell phone number. They can walk right over here. They can advocate on your behalf, or they can tell you, this is probably what you need to do and help you strategize. Now, that's a little bit different than student affairs complaints. I'm academic affairs. So I was talking to you about what kind of concerns you might have from an academic nature that might rise to the attention of the president. Well, when we're looking at student affairs concerns, it's the same process, meaning there's still a chain of command. However, the chain of command is different on the student affairs side as on the academic side. But I will tell you, no matter where you have a complaint or a concern throughout the campus, if you start with your professor, they probably can help you get to the right place. So always start there if you don't know where else to start. Student affairs complaints, if it's something that's happening on your floor, maybe it's a a leaky pipe, or, you know, or something's going with one of the toilets, you can let your resident assistant know, and it's their responsibility to take down that note that you came to them. We're not, the resident students assistants are students like you, but they do have processes that they're supposed to use to elevate concerns from the dorms. But outside of that, the person that is a staff member that's responsible for the entire dorm is your dorm director. So after you bring a problem to your resident assistant, take it to the dorm director. We often want to tell people things and consider it covered, but in addition to telling people stuff, you need to write things down. Make a record for yourself and make a record for them. They may come back to you and say, what day was something going on with the toilet? Or what day did your lights start flickering? And then you have to say, well, that might have been the day that it was my girlfriend's birthday, because I remember, right? You're going to be able to take better notes. You're going to be able to give better information when you take better notes. So write it down. After you go to your dorm director, if you don't have resolution there, or the dorm director may themselves elevate it up to the attention of the dean of students, and that's Dean Charles Stallworth. And he's another person that I know personally that I've seen him resolve students' issues, and he doesn't want the sun to go down on an issue for a student. We can't resolve everything instantaneously, but we can respond within a reasonable amount of time with a resolution of what we can do towards making things better. And I've seen that day to day with dean of students. Say that all of those things happen. I've worked here before where there was a student who had, this was many years ago, about a decade ago, she had kept having issues with these other girls in her dorms. She kept trying to get it to somebody's attention. These things kept happening, they're elevating. If there's something that you feel that is just egregious, you feel like you're in harm's way, you've told somebody, they haven't listened, or you've gone to the dean and the dean has said, hey, it's out of my control, or you've gone to the dean and the dean didn't quite see what you were saying, you need to take that to the president. And the president will then initiate her own process to address your concern. Step 4 is step 3, but step 4 in writing a letter to the president is, if it's an academic concern, it comes to me. So you work with your provost and we have a formal complaint process. That formal complaint process can be found in our student handbook, and it outlines what you're supposed to do in a student complaint. And in a student complaint, if you have a campus life student complaint, I told you what to do there, that's student services. But if you have an academic complaint, that comes up through the chain of command that has to do with academic affairs from the slides that I had from you before. This is just a screenshot of what's in the handbook, but a link to the student handbook is also going to be found inside of your freshman forum class. So you'll be able to look over the entire handbook as well. And one of the things that we'll have you guys to do is sign that you've read the student handbook. And so last but not least, here are the tips for writing a letter to the college president, or to the college, or to your boss, or to your boss's boss, should that time happen at some point in your life. Open with a greeting. It doesn't have to be greetings, salutations of the most excellent, the most beautiful, it just has to be greetings, Madam President, greetings, President Knight. President Knight, I hope this email finds you well. I have a concern, President Knight. Thank you for your remarks at the honors convocation. I have an idea to bring to you. So open with a greeting, just like anytime you're delivering a message to somebody, how the message comes across initially, let somebody know whether they should be excited to read the rest of it or on guard. You don't want your reader, no matter who it is, to be on guard. You want your reader to say, Geraldine's about to bring me a problem or an opportunity, and I want to hear what it is. Always include your real name and your M number. So many students tweet the president, send me Facebook messages, people screenshot messages, and they are your social media name. Well, we have no way of getting back in touch with you. That's not true. This is how we get back in touch with you. We search everything we can find about you. We figure out who you are. We look up in our database to find your number. If that number is up to date, we call that number and we get in touch with you. An easier way would be if you have your real name and your M number included in that email, along with your contact email and phone number, so we can get back to you. Typically, when the president sends me an issue that a student has, I respond, I won't say instantaneously, but if that number is on my phone, I press and I dial the number right then, as opposed to having to hunt you down. And sometimes we do that and we come up without your phone number if your phone number is not up to date in our database. Writing complete sentences and paragraphs. So if you're writing a letter to the president of college, this is a document that you're saying it's that important, the president's got to read it. So make sure that it's something that's legible. Don't use, slang. Don't use words that she might not know what they are. And don't write it like you're sending her a text message. Actually use complete sentences. Even if you are sending her a text message, still make sure that it makes sense. Give the facts. This is where those dates come in. If you say, hey, I turned in my paper, the teacher said that it wasn't good enough, I resubmitted it, but my grade didn't change. Although she said if I turned in another page, it would be changed. That teacher doesn't work for the college anymore, and this has affected my grade, or I need this reconsideration, or I want to be readmitted to college, or whatever the thing is. But give the facts. If someone has helped you, say that. Our professor was helpful, the division chair was helpful, the provost never called me back, right? Or the flip of that. Everyone has been helpful along the way, but I'm still appealing to you, President Knight, because the fact still remains that my GPA is a 3.9. It should have been a 4.0. I think there's an error I'd like for you to look at. Ask for what you need, want, or suggest at the end of the document. So all you say is, President Knight, would you please respond to my appeal? President Knight, would you please help me with housing for the spring? President Knight, would you please help me because I don't have a place to stay over Thanksgiving? Because sometimes we can read a message and then we don't know what it is that we can do to support you. And sometimes we can pick up a phone and get that support that you need. And with the salutation, the same way you open with a greeting, this is with any message. Hope you have a good day. I look forward to your response. And then give them some time to respond. I've had people tell me, well, nobody's called me back. Well, they called last night at 5 o'clock and it's a Friday. They're going to call you back on Monday. Our intention is to get back to you as soon as we can, but sometimes we don't get right back to you because we're gathering the information. I like to know what I'm talking about before I pick up the phone and call a student with the decision that I've made. As a matter of fact, I always will get the information first before I make a decision. But the more information you could put in the document, it helps us out. When your problem is resolved, when the president has done what you've asked her to do, when the division chair has appealed on your behalf, when the professor has given you that extra time for your grade, when the provost has, suggested you for this career internship and you got it, follow up. It's a good thing to say, hey, that was resolved. The president asks all the time, how did that go? How's that student that had that issue with the car? Or have you heard back from that student? And it's always great when we say, yes, their car is running. They've been coming to school. As a matter of fact, I looked on their midterms grades and they're doing great. So it's good to know that when we have follow-up. The converse is true. If somebody didn't get back to you, I'd say give it that whole week if you can allow it. Like if it's something time sensitive you need to know right now, that's different. But if it's something that you need to go ahead and you can wait, let's say you write it on a Monday, give yourself until Friday to go back and say, hey, I did an email on Monday. I wanted to bring back your attention. This is Friday and wanted to know where this stands. And again, ask respectful, include your phone number again, write in complete sentences. If you're smart, just go ahead and copy and paste the same message, because sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle or it's get pushed down on the email. And this is a way to push it back up to the top. So those are my suggestions for how to write a letter to the president. Now it's your turn. So what you're going to do in this assignment is you're going to write a letter to the president. You're going to actually write a letter to President Knight. And in this letter, there are instructions that are there in the assignment. You're going to talk about something that you would like to see different at the school or something that you love about the school. You'll be given a template inside of this assignment. You can use it on Google Docs and then post that here in assignments. You can type it inside of the assignment, or you can upload a Microsoft Word document, or you can upload a PowerPoint document or PDF. But pretty much it's 2 or 3 paragraphs. What would you say if you were writing a letter to the president? So thank you so much. I will make sure that the student handbook is up on your website by the time that you see this. And this assignment is due by, assignment is due by the end of the semester. But if you want to see your grade to show up and have that good grade before midterms, go ahead and try it before midterms. You have unlimited tries on this, which means that you can post it and one of your facilitators might give you critiques and you can resubmit the assignment for a better grade. Thank you so much, and you guys have a good day.